we're in the field, we've encountered many things between human traffic, drug smuggling.
There are times we've found marijuana along the trails, and you never know who's watching.
I have many times run into drug runners and undocumented aliens. From time to time, we see them carrying guns.
The border's not very well marked, so you need to be aware of where you are. You could easily walk across not knowing that you had crossed an international boundary.
We get extreme weather here. I mean, the northeaster comes through Canada, and it'll be 50-mile-an-hour winds forever.
There's the usual things you have to deal with in the forest with bears, mountain lions. Everything out here will bite you or stick you. You know, very unforgiving. So a lot of security issues out here.
Security is a shared responsibility that must remain a top priority for everyone, employees and supervisors, on a daily basis. Employees who work in the field and along border regions of the United States must maintain a higher level of security due to the increased threats they may encounter. Employees must be prepared to deal with a disabled vehicle or a flat tire in a remote area, but also with more serious threats. Maintaining a heightened sense of what and who is around you can help you avoid dangerous situations. In any work environment, whether in an office or out in the field, you may encounter situations that could jeopardize your security. Being aware of the environment around you and procedures that are unique to field and border-specific work will help you maintain your sense of security and keep you and your colleagues safe as you work in potentially dangerous areas. Before going out into the field or along the border, do your homework. Familiarize yourself with the area and possible exit routes. Get a map of the areas you'll be working in. Study terrain features, the roads, the direction of the nearest community, and location of water.
When you're going out in the field, I encourage you to talk to co-workers who may know more about the area that you're planning to visit. If it's a place you haven't visited, it's very important for you to be familiar with how to get in and how to get out of the area, and share that information with your supervisor and the other co-workers prior to leaving.
Fill out a trip plan detailing where you'll be going, how long you'll be gone, and who you'll be with. In some cases, you may also need to inform law enforcement agencies of the details of your trip for your protection and for theirs. When packing toolkits, types of equipment and tools which are helpful include a first aid kit and personal medication, topographical map, enough water and food for 24 hours, appropriate footwear with non-skid soles, adequate clothing that protects you from the environment, survival kit, and blankets. And don't forget to inspect your spare tire. Avoid going out into the field alone whenever possible. Use the buddy system, especially when going into areas with known dangerous activities.
If two people are working together, one individual slips and falls, you have a buddy there that can get you some assistance, get your location of where you're at, and hike out if you cannot hike out.
Staying alert and communicating with a partner or your office are key parts of staying protected in the field. Employees should participate in the check-in, check-out system, which informs a responsible individual where you are going, your travel route, and your expected return time. You should also advise family members and co-workers of your travel plans.
When we go out in the field, we always tell someone where we're going to go, when we're going to come back. I mean, we're never out in the field without someone knowing where we're at.
When indicating a work location on the check-out, check-in board, be as specific as possible about the location. In the event of a search and rescue, it will aid in narrowing down the search area. Of course, you can't check in if your communications equipment isn't working properly. Always check radio batteries before you head out, and take backups if you'll be gone for a long period of time. Never go out into the field without a means of communicating back to your home base.
I've learned to take my radio with me at all times because you leave the car, you don't know what you're going to encounter even 20 feet away, and I keep my cell phone on me at all times just in case.
Part of preparing for a trip is thinking about the terrain and climate that you're going into. If you're traveling in rough terrain, wear a long-sleeved shirt, long pants, gloves, appropriate footwear, socks that wick away sweat, and eye protection. Constantly assess the terrain and take the easiest and safest route. Whether you're traveling alone or with a partner, be aware of where you are at all times. Look for landmarks and orient yourself with prominent ones. When hiking through borderlands or in the field, it can be easy to lose your orientation, so establish directions in your mind. Check your back trail often, taking mental pictures of the terrain behind you. This is your view for your return trip. Stay on established trails and mark your route if possible. A slow, careful trip out assures a rapid and safe return. Drink fluids frequently and eat small meals regularly to maintain your physical and mental fitness.
Being safe is making sure you have plenty of water before you go into an area, and plenty of food. Apples, oranges are good.
In hot environments, know the signs, symptoms, and treatments for heat stress disorders. Always work in pairs when possible. Perform the heaviest work during the coolest part of the day. Wear loose-fitting, lightweight clothing. Take frequent short breaks in shade and avoid caffeine. In cold environments, be aware of current and predicted weather and the signs of hypothermia. Be prepared for the worst climatic conditions. Layer your clothing and wear a wind and waterproof coat with a hat. If you'll be in the cold for an extended period of time, bring extra clothing, a sleeping bag, high-energy food bars, and warm drink. Awareness of conditions and wearing personal protective equipment helps prevent serious injuries and encounters. If you get lost, use your communication device and tell colleagues or law enforcement the coordinates from your GPS device. Be aware of the risk of cyber theft from cell phones. Near the borders, cell service may depend on where the nearest tower is, and that could be outside U.S. territory.
We're roughly 300 feet from the Canadian border. That the road is on the Canadian side. You automatically get a text saying that if you use the phone, you're going to be using an international connection. Those can get kind of pricey.
If possible, use a designated field cell phone with no other data or documents, or switch your phone to airplane mode until you are away from the border. And if you are unsure about the security of your cell phone, try using radio communication first. If your communication devices are not working, do not panic. Think through when the last time you knew where you were, and then decide on a course of action. It may be best to stay put and let someone find you, especially if water, fuel, or shelter are nearby. If you feel like you can retrace your course, do so. Try to find a high point or a tree to make a mental map of the area before moving, and mark your spot. Move with a purpose, never wander aimlessly. Look for your tracks. You may be able to backtrack your way to familiar ground, and follow any road that you find. In the borderlands or remote parts of the field, your vehicle is your lifeline. If it becomes disabled or stuck, you could be stranded in the field. Be prepared before you set out. Review your agency's safe driving practices. Make sure your vehicle is in good shape and that you know how to drive in rough terrain. When driving in rough, hilly terrain, shift to a lower gear to control the vehicle's speed. Know the limits of your vehicle and of your driving ability. You may need to find an alternate driving route or need to hike in. vehicles with low centers of gravity may be able to drive straight up or down hills, while high center of gravity vehicles may slide or roll. Don't turn around on a steep hill, narrow trail, or unstable ground. Back up until there is somewhere safe to turn around, and keep all 4 tires moving. Avoid driving over large rocks or obstacles unless you have experience. Crossing large rocks or obstacles can damage the undercarriage of your vehicle, leaving you stranded. Driving is one of the most frequent and most hazardous activities we participate in on a daily basis in our personal and work lives. Over time, driving can become second nature for us, and this can lead to complacency. When listening to the radio, using a cell phone, or eating and drinking, distractions can lead to accidents. When you are the driver, you should be concentrating only on attentive driving. Your agency is one of several working in your area. Know who to call for support in dangerous situations.
For those of you who work in the field and on the border, it's very important to establish good relationships with all of the local agencies, such as the law enforcement and the Border Patrol. And the time to do it is before you go out in the field. Take the time to form those relationships, those friendships that can be very, very critical and important to you down the road.
Border Patrol, they'll watch you, and sometimes they'll want to talk to you just to confirm who you are. I mean, usually they see the federal tags and go. On the northern border, it's not marked like you have on the southern border, so you really have to be on the lookout for signs that you are in the border zone. And the telltale sign is going to be the camera towers. They look kind of like cell phone towers with a bunch of cameras on them. And then there's a monument about every mile, but they're not very distinct. So I rely more on the actual camera towers and, of course, the maps that we use before I go to the field to make sure I know where that zone is.
The best tactic you can use in field and border areas is to exercise situational awareness at all times. This means knowing your location, even the longitude-latitude coordinates, using your senses, and knowing the landscape and terrain. Always stay alert, and most important, listen to your instincts.
If I'm out there by myself, then I'm definitely more aware of my surroundings, what people are around, and take precautions as far as being out there by myself.
One of the things that I would tell a new crew member on our district is that your situational awareness needs to be at a high level. You always need to be looking around, analyzing your environment because it's ever changing down here.
There are many possible threats to your security while out in the field. Some of the most common threats include encounters with drug cartels or drug mules, drug crops, human remains, injured persons, abandoned camps, or roadblocks.
We run into smugglers and contraband that they carry. If you don't feel comfortable down here and doing the work, you can leave. You don't have to be there, and that job is not that important to put yourself in harm's way.
You may encounter different wildlife in the field and come across a variety of environmental conditions that you should be informed about. Be aware of the hazards associated with your workplace location. Speak with coworkers who have worked in that location to hear their lessons learned. Wildlife concerns could include snakes, spiders, bees, and large animals such as bears, mountain lions, and dogs.
I have encountered a bear, a bobcat, and rattlesnakes. So you have to be aware and looking on the ground. You don't want to step on a snake. And I once drove up between a bear and her cub. Got out of there pretty quick.
Environmental conditions to be aware of include hot or cold environments, weather conditions, lightning, smoke, fire, hazard trees, poison ivy, or poison oak. Be aware of what could be around you and take precautions.
I think one of the most dangerous factors about working here on the border in Arizona is the heat. and so you need to have water with you all the time.
You may encounter people and situations that deal with illegal immigrants. Be extra alert in developed areas because they are often used as pickup or drop-off locations.
If you come across illegal activity, first thing you're gonna do is, just kind of take mental notes, scout the area. Situational aware has to be really high, and just leave the area and document it. And once you're in a safe spot, go ahead and call somebody and tell them, hey, this is what we saw, this is what was out there. I didn't feel safe. We should get some law enforcement out here to check it out.
The harvest season, generally mid-September through November, depending on elevation, is generally the most dangerous time to come across a marijuana grow site, although illegal activities may take place year-round in the forest. If you do not feel comfortable working in a certain location, express your concerns to your supervisor or local law enforcement. If you find a deceased body, leave the area quickly and report it. The body may simply be someone who died of hunger, thirst, or exposure, but that body may also be used as a lure. Report your finding to local law enforcement. Maintaining awareness is one of the best tools that you have for staying safe in the field or along the border. While in the field, pay attention to your surroundings and any changing conditions. Be particularly aware of your vehicle, your equipment status, your physical and mental condition, and the appropriateness of your actions. Look out for fatigue, stress, or anger. These are some of the signs that you're not paying attention to what's going on around you, and that puts you at risk. In summary, create and share trip plans and pack appropriate toolkits. Work in two-person teams when possible. Use the check-in, check-out system and stay connected. Know the limits of your vehicle and driving ability. Look out for distractions and complacency when driving. Establish relationships with local authorities and agencies. Incorporate situational awareness in your routine. Acknowledge threats in your region, which may include wildlife, environment, illegal immigrants, or illegal grows. Take precautions when hiking and maintain awareness at all times. Your job is important to protecting our land and the interests of American citizens, but it is not worth putting your life at risk. The security of USDA employees is of the utmost importance, and we want to make sure that our workplaces, whether in the office or the field, are secure, protected, healthy work environments.